Joystick is referenced in the past, which means I'm very intelligent by mentioning this. Let's take a look at our map pick and ban. 7 maps in total, 6 down, 1 will be left to play on in our best of 1 series. Oh no!
Oh no! How?
That was a really evil yes in my headset. Did you guys hear that as well? I don't know if stream
I think it was.
It's
That's
the
James.
ghost of
Oh my
Dev
God.
Martyr. The ghost of Oregon, past, present, future,
Oh god.
and Oregon.
Are they gonna rework Oregon and we're gonna have the same situation? He literally unmutes himself, laughs, and then mutes himself again. You little sneaky rascal. Alright. Hap, right decision to go for Oregon here instead of Villa as Empire's decision.
I'm not sure. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of Oregon, so there's a lot of tricks that have been popping up about all these games. Maybe they have something up their sleeves that they're willing to show and share with us today. I'm not sure. It's also a map they never really played against each other, because if I'm looking at their history, I see Coastline, Clubhouse, Clubhouse, Coastline, Clubhouse, Border, which is no longer in, Coastline, Consulate, Bank, which is no longer in, and Clubhouse. So a lot of Clubhouse, no Oregon. New ground.
New ground? Fluke? Expectations?
I mean, I guess it's a tough one here from the side of Empire. They obviously played Oregon very recently against BDS. They were in a situation where they could have almost played it on against Rogue as well. I guess you want Empire to step up. You want to get a little bit more of what we know they're capable of. Otherwise, this could be a good day for Forza. X-Forza, sorry, Virtus.Pro.
Virtus.Pro!
So far, then. These teams have such a history. I've got it in my notes. They're Virtus.Pro now.
That's very true. Virtus.Pro, by the way, for people that are unsure. Let's take a look at our predictions. First, what do people think about this matchup? You can go and vote on all these matches. Vote next match on at R6 Esports EU on Twitter. There it is. Oh my god!
Ooh, that is even.
That is a cool one. Okay, the big Spartak Dynamo, big matchup of the two Russian teams. Russian Major League champions in their own rights in their past. 47 of 47 and a 6% tie percentage. Wow, that's actually the closest one that
Got some extra stats if you want to highlight this. And this year, because you requested specifically to pull up all 2020 matches.
Yes, I did.
Empire won 72 rounds, with which they won 8 maps. VP won 55 rounds, with which they won 4 maps in total. So they played each other for 12 maps. So historically speaking, Empire is definitely the one to be favored. However, the last matchup went to VP with a 7-5. So, you know, we're maybe seeing the shift happen now, but overall, stats are favored to Empire.
Statsman himself has said it. Let's take a look at what we all thought about this game, though. So let's run it real quick. Our game is just about ready. Gio, James, what's up? You've been, James specifically has been whispering in our ears and laughing.
What's he dancing to?
I don't know.
The music in my head.
Gio and James, both of you went for Team Empire. Gio, can you explain why this decision?
Well, part of it was because I've really struggled to come to a conclusion. I obviously know that Virtus.Pro beat Team Empire in the Russian Major League 2 days ago, but we heard quite good things about Joystick, particularly his performance, and I think that if he can keep that up, and Dan playing like he did last week, maybe something good could come from that. It was a hard pick.
James?
Yeah, I think the safe bet here is Virtus.Pro, but I'm an Aussie. Aussies love underdogs, so I went with Empire. That's basically it. I also want to be different. You know, I just don't want to do the same thing as Hap, because that way I can never break ahead of him.
Unfortunately, you were so different that there was somebody else that picked the same as you. So what a coincidence.
We got each other's back.
Exactly. There it is. So you know what?
In sync.
I'm going to toss it to you guys. In sync. Beautiful, wonderful band. Beautiful times at 2000s. Very weird moments. Let's toss it over to Gio and James. Please enjoy yet another Oregon.
Thank you so much, Milos. And you know what? We will enjoy another Oregon because... What is this?
I'm dancing.
All right. I don't know what you're listening to, but... yeah, do that. That's more topical. We will enjoy another Oregon, Milos, because Virtus.Pro versus Team Empire, these two Russian titans, which have a pretty strong history and story going forward and what it is they want to be earning from this match.
Very much so. We've got almost contrasting trajectories between these teams. Empire has been on the down, upwards trajectory, unfortunately for them, but I feel like there is some form of hope. They had a really good opening game, 7-2 against Rogue. I do think Oregon is going to be a tough slog for Empire. However, despite that 7-1 victory they got against BDS in Stage 1, they managed to lose it out to them in Stage 2 just last week in a convincing 2-7 loss. And they also lost at last stage to Secret as well. But nonetheless, we'll see how this match actually pans out once we get past the operator bans. Maverick and Thatcher in tandem really create an what's the word? Not unfortunate, an uncomfortable environment for the attacking squad. Wall denial becomes the name of the game. It's very, very difficult. I like the Cade ban though. That jumping that in there means that there are a couple of areas that's much easier to clear with Kali as your wall denial disabler. And so I like that. And this is fairly normal for these teams. Wamai was actually banned in almost every game by these teams that these teams have ever played on Oregon, as same with the Thatcher and the Maverick as well. So I don't think anything here is very much a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually interesting seeing the Kaid come in particularly because it feels anecdotally like in this stage so far, that's definitely been a ban that we've seen appear a lot more frequently than we did last stage.
Yeah, very much so. I think it's a demonstration of how the meta has evolved. We saw what people referred to as the 20-second meta. I rather refer to it as the util sync meta because that's really what it was. Defenders would fortify strong positions, for example, behind a deployable shield of some kind, and then they would have both Jaeger and Wamai in tandem to prevent that shield from getting destroyed. And by banning the Wamai, you make it much more easy to util clear. So it kind of negates that strategy of relying on these shields. And that's why we'll see likely a mix of strategies, not just relying on the shields. We actually have 3 of them, though, in this particular round. Shepard's got 1 on the smoke. We've got the 2 Vulcans from Scyther as well. And interestingly, no Mira picked. I would have thought on account of her not being banned, she would be really strong. In particular, with the Thatcher ban, it means that you can basically just bandit trick a Mira and or even just put wall denial on a mirror, and that mirror is just super powerful. But nonetheless, maybe we'll see that come out from Virtus.Pro on their half. We'll see how things change, and maybe if Empire loses this, they'll change their mind.
I have to say, what's really standing out to me right now is typically we would see both Joystick and Dan taking on Roma roles, whereas actually it's always who's on the Jaeger this time, not something we very frequently see from this roster. And it might be one of those things that's coming into that conversation of should Joystick experience some kind of a role change.
Well, we've definitely seen that on the attacking side. He actually has been maining smoke so far in Stage 2. On the defense, of course, that is now in Shepard's hands, but Joystick's on the mute, which isn't very much of a far cry from the smoke. But you mentioned the roam game, that's totally not present here for Empire. It's just a full turtle on the bomb site. I think that's the right choice here. Virtus.Pro, really aggressive team, really good at taking map control. They want to take fights. And often when Virtus.Pro are winning, it's because they're getting gunfights and they're taking them and they're succeeding in them. Empire, on the other hand, are a team that doesn't so much prefer to take gunfights. They prefer to force themselves into advantageous positions where they're likely to win with a crossfire. We saw that in particular on their game against Rogue. But wow, that's a good nade. And look at this aggression on the back of it. The refragger is there, and Milon does trade out Joystick.
Definitely took Joystick by surprise there, it seems, because once the nade came in, he knew that there was someone there, but whether it was 2 attackers, probably not something that he was expecting. That does mean now that Milon has this control, but it looks like Empire are trying to send someone in behind him as Dan gets Rusk.
You can see this execute shaping up for Virtus.Pro. I really love that aggression early on. The nade and then 2 players immediately behind it to refrag. This is that trademark Virtus.Pro playstyle we know them for. Shockwave holding a very aggressive angle that Pasha caught out solo, been having a really rough stage. That's a great peek from Scyther, who's been having a fantastic stage. Eventually traded out, but this is a big ask for the support player of Shockwave to try and redeem the round for Virtus.Pro.
Up against his former teammates, but Shepard will be the one to bring him down. I nearly said Empire will be the one to bring him down, although I suppose that's not untrue. Very good control there from Empire at the end, I would say.
Yeah. In particular, just the ability to trade out a couple kills. Of course, Joystick found the first one. it was a bit of a surprise to me, almost. Like, Virtus.Pro were kind of favored in that, but, good on Joystick for managing to get WTG before he was traded. But big step up from Scyther, and that's something that we haven't really managed to preface so far in the cast, but it's definitely something that I was taking into my prep when I was doing my notes to prepare for this game. Looking at Scyther, he's definitely a player to keep your eye on for Empire these days. He's really stepped up. He's moved off of a kind of a flex, a more supportive role for his team. And it, particularly on the attack, has really kind of taken that entry, especially since Joystick hasn't quite been in form. And so I'm going to be keeping my eye on Scyther. He's happy to take gunfights on the defense, like those 2 aggressive peaks that really brought the tide back into Empire's favor just in that round past. And I expect we'll see that continue, in particular when they're on the attack.
Well, obviously, last time Empire came here, it was when they played against BDS, which they won 7-1. Which was quite surprising, and there were a lot of question marks around that time as to whether or not that was about BDS taking a more relaxing stance or whether Empire were just so ungodly at it. And now is really the time to find out as we move up to the next bomb site here on Kids and Dorms. And as you mentioned, a similar situation with regards to those defensive roles.
We're likely to see the impact trick from Joystick and Dan. Got 2 sets of impact on this Empire lineup. This is exactly the point of contest for the defense. You've noticed those holes in the floor. Very common, very meta these days on this Dorm's bomb site is the attackers will try and breach the closet wall with some kind of Hibana or Ace or some other hard breach, and then the defenders will throw an impact through that hole in the floor. It's going to hit this little fan that's in classroom on the level below, and that will then have an explosion that destroys the hard breach utility on this closet wall. And I like the idea from Empire bringing 2 sets of impact nades. That means they can deny 4 different hard breach. And if you combine the 3 Hibana X Kairos and the 3 Ace Selmas, that's 6. So, of course, Virtus.Pro do have the advantage in terms of total volume. But if it's the Aces that get impact trick, then Hibana might not have enough to make an actual entryway.
You noticed that Milan was pushing up, supported by WTG's drone, but he's going to be the first one to fall as Dan secures that kill for himself. Hidden here behind the Vulcan shield, but that's going to be eradicated, forcing him to rotate. Virtus.Pro looking to make more of a move in, as Shockwave is likely going to start making his work on the wall, and there you go. Joystick's still very close by, though.
Yeah, he's all out of impacts, however, so if a second, or I guess you could say a third set of Selmas comes out, he won't be able to destroy them. Shockwave takes a lot of damage there from the Older, and he'll be very cautious peeking this again. Always is actually roaming downstairs, could potentially try a C4, but Joystick is not shy from peeking this breach. The third Selma comes out, but I don't think the Malusi is nearby to impact trick that, and as such, the breach is successful.
And actually, Shockwave's just going to jump off the balcony, so Joystick's efforts to peek, or actually, he's still nearby. He's going to try and get the angle in for himself. He knows that the Maestro is not giving up on it, and he's narrowly going to get it, but he does. He brings him down, always meeting his demise as well, which means the fates seem to be turned in this round so far, comparatively to the last one. About 20 seconds left to go, and Virtus.Pro look like they're just taking control easily.
Oh, that's critical!
One around, the diffuser then dropped as Scyther gets the shot that he's traded out. It doesn't matter, Virtus.Pro finish up the kills they require and take themselves round 2.
Got a bit scared there for a second for VP when Scyther was managed to take down that diffuser planter and on account of Shockwave already being low HP, but yeah, Virtus.Pro managed to refrag it out at the end and they finish off those last 2 players. Overall, I think it was a decent defense from Empire. It was actually 30 seconds left on the clock when Virtus.Pro found the 2 picks they needed. It was actually the first 2 picks of the round, but that then got them the man advantage 4 versus 3. From then a couple seconds later, there was a pick. I don't know exactly where WTG picked that one up, but then 4v2 means that even if your diffuser planter gets taken out, you can just refrag things out. And I think that could have looked a bit better for Empire if the impact trick had been successful. All 3 Selmas managed to detonate at least to some degree. Joystick managed to destroy 2 of the Selmas after the first initial breach had opened, and that meant it was on their line of sight. But yeah, not long after, Joystick was punished over peeking that breach, and the third one was able to detonate. And since there are 4 impacts on the side of Empire, 2 on Dan, 2 on Joystick, I want to see Dan be able to use his to deny the subsequent charges on that wall, and I think that'll give a little bit more of a safer position for Joystick there.
There's obviously a lot of perseverance there from Shockwave to continue on at the angle, and actually just catching it there in the replay, you can see how narrow it was. And obviously going up against the Maestro like that, huge risk, purely down to the size of the mag that Maestro carries. But obviously it worked out for them before. Are they going to be able to do it again?
Since we're speaking about the impact trick, I do just want to note that if Ace does get one single line open, that's not actually the end of the world. In fact, it becomes easier to impact trick the subsequent charges that then fall down below it to make it a vaultable or crouchable hole. Because that first breach, you just throw the impact nade to the left on the reinforced wall, and it'll destroy the subsequent charges. So you can actually do that from playing at top white stairs. That's what I'd like to see Dan do in the late round, especially after his shield gets destroyed. The Goyo that is currently, as we can see, in the middle of the site to contest the trophy door, which I believe last time Virtus.Pro actually removed from downstairs. You can roam down, you can destroy that by using a Zephyr or an Ash charge through the floor. But Empire very much prepared. You can see Shepard's got some angles to contest through the floor. They also have always, once again, roaming down there.
Again, Milan's going to be the one to move up forward. And obviously, as you mentioned, sending the Zephyr in, kind of the natural choice because of the lifeline. And they've pointed out the shield, but it's going to be the nade that they throw in to deal with that problem. That sends the flames up. It's a good question.
I do wonder why there was no ADS there. That's a bit of a strange choice. I don't think they cleared it. But that's that. Now the wall's starting to get breached, and Joystick starts to move off. He's out of impact. So we'll just see Dan get the rest of them. Oh, that's unlucky from Joystick.
Caught out there as obviously he moved away from his position in games a lot earlier than we saw last round, and that leaves it very much open. Dan's getting ready with the impact to try and get rid of the Selma, and it's going to prevent them. It is going to open much further. I didn't actually know if it's going to do that then, and that's a lot more easy control that Virtus.Pro will be able to take. And Dan has to be careful with his positioning so that he doesn't get caught out like Joystick did last time.
It was actually really unlucky for Joystick. Just happened to be he was standing in that Goyo shield when it was removed from, I believe, below through the floor with a grenade from WTG. Shockwave's in a good position here, got the wall open, and he's full HP. Unlike the previous round, everything is looking even better than the previous attack from Virtus.Pro, and I think they're going to take this.
Obviously, things could go the other way, as always starts things off, bringing down Rusk, that big gunner, and that was very close there as 2 more kills come in for Virtus.Pro, and it looks like they could just continue to clean up. The smokes are down, and soon also will be the diffuser if this C4 has anything to say about it. Pasha's going to be joining as well. Now they're in the post-plant situation, but they don't live long enough to do it, as always tries to get back up the stairs, and another very clean take of the upstairs site for Virtus.Pro.
Really, really good stuff there for Virtus.Pro once again. In fact, that looked like an even more convincing victory. A couple things that I think were really pivotal for Virtus.Pro getting that round. Firstly, destroying that Goyo shield in the bomb site. The first one they destroyed, which was just peeking WTG with a nade from the trophy door. I don't know where the ADSs were for Empire. I don't know where they had been stacked. I don't know whether there had been one on that wall, but it had been burnt. But typically there would be an ADS from Jaeger in that position. So I'm a bit confused as to why that nail was allowed to sail through. Even if there was an ADS there, surely Virtus.Pro would have burnt through it anyway. So maybe that's not super impactful, but it just made things so much faster and easier from Virtus.Pro. Secondarily, of course, the Goyo shield that they destroyed after that killed Joystick, and the impact tricks from Empire, both Joystick and Dan, were unsuccessful. They used all 4 impacts, but they didn't even destroy any of the ace charges. Like, they managed to trick, I think, the first 2 just from getting the subsequent breaches open, but they still got that first line. And the fact that that third ace, Selma, was able to make an actual entryway for Virtus.Pro was really, really impactful. And then Virtus.Pro, numbers advantage. We had WTG rush trophy into Pig and Attic and find 2 kills. That was huge. So, yeah, huge stuff from Virtus.Pro. And I'm a bit scared for Empire. They'll need to win this defense and eventually retry Dorms. But with how good Virtus.Pro have looked on that bomb site, I don't think Empire's going to be successful.
And I think you raised a very good point there, actually, where you said you know, they could throw that nade in eventually, but the ADS not being there just means it's so much quicker. And in this kind of meta where you are soaking up a lot of that utility, you really need those extra seconds you can take. So hopefully that's something Empire will be able to secure for themselves in this round as they come back down to the basement, which back in round 1 they could get, and that's a good start from Dan. Bringing Rask down, who hasn't had a very fortuitous round so far, or game so far, I should say.
I like this aggression from Empire. Rask was actually caught out throwing a flashbang to burn that first ADS, and now we'll have to use Hibana's flashbangs. Pasha sends one in. You could hear that first ADS expire, but I don't know how many more here. We can see that there's actually one charge still on this ADS at the door. Oh, nice, but always survives it. There's still an ADS active in Elbow, though, and I don't think they've got enough util to clear it, and then a nade to destroy the Vulcan shield in that corner. So Empire still holding snugly onto blue.
And always is still holding onto the doorway as Dan also hasn't rotated down. ADS still standing, but there's the lifeline. That'll kind of concuss him and stun him out, and always takes the opportunity to get a kill onto WTG. About half the round is down, and Virtus.Pro are still struggling to push on in as yet another one goes down. Milon is waiting patiently here, prone with the angle down towards Elbow, but when he's just on his own, it makes it very, very hard. Pasha's had to turn around and come down the tower stairs to hope maybe he can get some value from another angle, but he's going to receive some oncoming fire, and suddenly they know of his location. This will make it so much harder, but always his attention, it's diverted, and he has to keep darting between these two potential targets. As Pasha looks like he's going to begin to make his way down and maybe get that shot from behind, but actually no, he went down. Scyther finishes it off. There's a kill from Milon, but it's probably not going to be enough as he still has 4 more players to go up against. Can he ace it and bring it back around? He's got about 40 seconds remaining and very low HP, and this is his last chance.
Not likely to happen. Eventually finished off. Nice headshot with the pistol from Dan. Empire looked even stronger than their previous defense of that basement bomb site. In particular, thank you to a lot of aggression from Empire at the very start. Both Dan and Always, peeking blue, took out 2 early players. In fact, half the round gone, 1:30 on the clock. It was a 2 versus 5 for Virtus.Pro. I do question the initial read from VP. The previous time they attacked Laundry, they went for a Laundry and Freezer push instead of blue. And this time they changed their mind, decided to hard dedicate to blue. And well, you can see how well that worked out. I'm not so sure about whether that was the right call, and they were caught off guard from the aggressive peaks, but I think that's a round that Virtus.Pro just have to put behind them and now focus on their next attack. Now, of course, Dorms is still unlocked here, but Empire, smartly, in my opinion, decide to change things up. Go over to dining.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the smart decision. Evidently, the pattern that we're seeing right now is that Empire do really well on Laundry, whereas Virtus.Pro do really well upstairs. And while Empire are in control of where they go, they are probably not going to be in much of a rush to be taking things back up to the top floor. So down into dining we are. And I have to say, James, one of the players who I really am going to have my eye on this round is Rask. He's currently 1-3, which is very uncharacteristic for him, especially in the last few weeks. And especially if we look back at the game they played against Tempera just last week, last Playday. He's been shot down very early in a number of these rounds. And I think he's a major part of the aggression that facilitates Virtus.Pro's playstyle and will be needed in this round.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Virtus.Pro, well, we'll see how they attack this particular bomb site. They really struggled with just clearing utility in blue last time and dealing with that aggression. We'll see how the util game goes here. Firstly, it's Milon just opening up the floor here in office. That goes directly down onto the dining bomb site. And from that vantage point, he can begin to clear utility.
And obviously he's going to be supported by Shockwave's drone as well, which you can just see going around in the... Actually, just gets shot straight off the board as I say it. Goodbye. But that, of course, gives them information they need as to what utility may be present in the dining room. But they obviously have to still be aware that Shower's control is something to be taken, and there is the ping onto the drone. They'll have to open up the wall, onto the shield. They'll have to open up the wall before they can get rid of that. But the ADSs are still there protecting joystick.
Just holding in showers is joystick. Impact trick to come through, but I'm not sure whether that was successful. VP are starting to take this ground slowly but surely, and the utility is flooding through. Dan flashed up, and Racht drone up ahead. Finally, we do see that breach open. But, oh, what's that? Reinforcement off? Empire are like, you've taken showers, now here's nothing that you can do with it. I really, really like that strategy. Not something I've personally seen before.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see that because it means they still maintain so much control in this situation as we get to the point where we have 1 minute remaining and still all 10 members standing. Once again, that's going to force Virtus.Pro into a situation where they'll have to utilize that aggression that didn't work out for them down in the basement last time, where they found themselves bottlenecked and stuck in blue and construction. If Empire can basically mimic that last round, similarly here, they could find themselves holding on to this with so much more control, just like last time.
What is this execute going to look like from Virtus.Pro? I like that they breached the showers wall into dining, but here's a great angle from Always. That smoke means he can't see the planter. Shockwave takes a bit of damage, but decides to stick the diffuser. Pushing on forward, we need to see a play to make this work, but I don't think it's going to happen.
No, they're going to have to go back for the diffuser if they want to get that down, but Milon's receiving some vertical fire. He goes in for the shot, but doesn't get anything, and in fact, what he does get is a death. Team Empire hold on to dining and kitchen, and they take the lead in this half.
I think that goes to show how good of a choice it was for Empire to rotate that site. We saw just more convincingly, time and time again, they kept banging their head against that Dorm's defense, and it wasn't working out for them. And that's why I think it was such a great decision to move over to kitchen dining. Admittedly, Virtus.Pro had pretty good time management, managed to clear out the showers position, but then we had that cool little idea from Empire to then Rio off showers, so it was nullified anyway, and Virtus.Pro couldn't leverage that position. Yes, losing showers does mean that Empire doesn't have quite as many ways that they can deny plant, but in the end, I guess it didn't matter for them. They were able to overwhelm in the late round, and we'll see how Empire go, trying to fix their mistakes that they were struggling with here on Dorms.
Yeah, interestingly, they've actually gone for something slightly different because what we saw last time they came here, they obviously brought the Goyo, and the Vulcan Shield was a big part of what it was they were running, but now they've come with a mute, which I don't believe they had before.
Let me just check my thingamajigger. Yeah, there was no mute last time. Sorry guys, just FYI, my video feed is dying right now. AussieNet not doing me
Feels Australian
too well at the moment, so I'm literally getting like 1 frame per 10 seconds. But I'm trying. So
that's good for Australia.
Always previously was Always was on the Goyo previously, and I think this is a good decision to bring the mute instead. I do wonder where he's going to put a lot of these jammers though, because we're losing 2 shields now. Admittedly, those shields on the bomb site were being dealt with really well. That's a nice mute jammer. Thank you, Easy. Another mute jammer on the main wall to site, so we're actually going to have to see Virtus.Pro clear that somehow. I think this is the right decision, especially with Thatcher Band. And Virtus.Pro aren't bringing much utility to easily clear this. They're going to have to go downstairs and use an Ash charge or a Zephyr charge or just shoot it through the floor. And that's going to take time. And I think that it may be time that makes a difference for this attack from Virtus.Pro. And if Empire can waste that time and it gets into the late round, then we're going to see things like these smoke bays be more impactful.
Oh, that was a really good nade there onto Joystick. He's going to have to crawl away for his life, but no, he can't as he gets the second nade landed onto him and killed immediately. That's the second time Team Empire have come to this site and Joystick has found himself in a really unfortunate demise. Now, Dan's going to attempt the impact trick, but the Selma's going to keep... Oh, actually, it's not going to keep going. The Shockwave obviously still has some in pocket, and that's going to force Dan to move behind, but he gets stunned out, and suddenly he's in a difficult position to be in. He takes refuge behind a shield that has not yet been cleared out as the wall continues to open.
So we see the hold from Empire. They might have lost the first pick, but I think they're still in a better position than they have been previous rounds. Now, admittedly, with that Goyo not being picked this time, Virtus.Pro don't have as much util to clear. There is a Malusi Wub Wub on this door. I believe that is the shield to get destroyed there. by Milan.
And it's still
I'll
standing.
see once my feed gets... no, okay.
It's still there. It's alright. I'll be your eyes and your ears. Shield is indeed still alive, but always is just below insecurity. So he's going to be there most likely with a C4. I'm assuming he's holding, but Pasha once again is he's rotating round to get rid of him, and it works. Can't quite get the second kill. Yes, he can. Coming up the white stairs, but Scythe is going to turn things around on Milan. Now Pasha just has to get out of there and turn around before they know too much about where he is. There's the smoke from the smoke, but Scythe gets a second kill for himself. Make that a third. A good round for him before he's taken down by WTG. And now it's just Shepard standing. He could clutch this out. We've seen it before, but in the man disadvantage, it makes it so much harder. Has used all of his utility now, and the plant is beginning to go down. He doesn't know where these players are, and he's going to have to find them with 8 seconds remaining. There's the diffuser. It's planted. A shot taken in by WTG, but he doesn't quite get it. Shockwave finishes Shepard off, and Virtus.Pro for a third time take kids and dorms.
Funnily enough, yeah, they have attacked that successfully 3 times. But that's the first time they ever planted the diffuser this entire game. Not that I wrote down. Maybe they did. It was the round where they like rushed in. I thought they killed everyone before they planted, but maybe I'm wrong. Look, Gio, I would trust anything you've got about this game more than me at the moment. With I have a really tough choice here. I can either watch one feed, which is 1 frame per second and low res, or I can watch another feed, which is 1 frame per 10 seconds but higher res. So yeah, I'm trying. But look, I'll try and tell you what I can with what I've got. And firstly, that is a 3-3 half on Oregon. This favors Virtus.Pro as the attackers. And if I have a look at the last time Virtus.Pro played Oregon, it was against Windstrike just a couple days ago, actually, in the Russian Major League. Virtus.Pro managed to get 4 defense wins on their half. Only 3 attack wins, but that didn't matter, obviously, because 4 plus 3 is 7, and that's the game for them. So I think that Virtus.Pro are positioned really well here to take it. Admittedly, Windstrike are probably a bit of a weaker team than Empire. We've seen how strong Windstrike can be in the Challenger League thus far, but I think it's safe to say that Empire are probably the favoured team.
5 seconds remaining.
That said, I think Virtus.Pro have started really strong here. In particular, been a great game for WTG, who's currently playing support on the attack, bit more of an aggressive position, did some great work with those grenades. I think at least 2 or 3 kills overall. But yeah, I'm really happy to see Virtus.Pro back in form. Admittedly, like you've been highlighting earlier, Rask has had a bit of a tough game. Pasha as well, not quite as impactful as we saw in stage 1, where he was just making plays left, right, and center. But yeah, this for me is I'm going to be looking closely at Empire and how their entries go, particularly Scyther, who we've seen on entry in a lot of matches recently for Empire with that role switch, with Joystick becoming a bit more passive. But actually, it's going to be hard for Joystick to play supportively, and always when they've lost all of their drones. This is actually a real struggle for Empire so early into the round, and we have almost no drones left.
Yeah, that's something really big to mention, as you say, because how are you going to be able to play that supportively? I mean, it's exactly the point. They just lost another one. Now Shepard's the only one with a drone left. They expect to be playing this Nomad to try and hold off the flanks. And bearing in mind, Virtus.Pro bought the bulletproof camera on Jaeger. So they have that extra information gathering in the form of a camera, which is the same number of cameras that right now Empire have to their disposal. And also you've got to remember the defenders have those defaults, provided they actually stay up, which you never know. We saw some interesting things in not Challenger League, APAC North. So you never know what could happen from that respect. And obviously last time when Virtus.Pro came to attack this site, they got stuck here in Blue and Construction, and Empire themselves are now struggling to move forward.
Just to reiterate, I don't think I have ever seen a game in competitive at any level where the attackers have had only 1 drone left with 2 minutes remaining. Now there are no drones left. Empire, they have no information. They have to peek for everything, and they're just going to go send it. They've done a lot of damage to Virtus.Pro, but this is going to be very difficult, especially in the late round. Virtus.Pro could just play in rat corners, and Empire is going to have to face check absolutely everything. This is such a difficult position. Now, admittedly, Empire have taken some ground, and they have done some HP damage, but This is just going to be so difficult.
Well, Scyther taking a peek certainly worked out well as he gets the first kill onto Rusk, who was hidden there in Harry Potter, and now they want to begin to get the wall open, but obviously with a mute on the side of Virtus.Pro, that's going to be some utility that has to be cleared out first. And Shockwave, of course, he's ready here and waiting, and there's the kill. Now Empire, no, that's a great C4 from Pasha as well. Things get traded out, but there's barely any time left, and Empire don't have much information. A double kill for Milon. Can he finish it off? No, it's WTG who does, but the point still stands. Virtus.Pro took really no effort to hold on to that side as Empire were really flying blind.
So, who won that round? Virtus.Pro. Okay, I literally cannot. I
It's
cannot see what's going
good.
on.
Virtus.Pro won. It was a good opening kill, but after that, it was really the blue kill feed club.
Yeah, wow. And that's what happens when you don't have info, right? And of course, I'm going to be stringing together some conclusions here. But yeah, I can relate. I've got about as much info as Empire do right now. But look, this is pretty damning, I think. The fact that Empire allowed all those drones to get taken out. I didn't see how many died in prep phase, but I've got to assume it's a lot. Because the fact that many action phase drones died that fast, what that tells me is what probably happened. Empire got a lot of drones taken out in prep phase. Maybe they were trying to set up in aggressive positions to watch flanks and such, or get early info, and they got taken out. That's a big boo-boo to kick things off. And then Empire, especially doing a blue take, you need to get a lot of information really early on, and your drones are all going to come through one door. That is the bunker door. Virtus.Pro and any defending squad early in the round is going to be keeping their eyes keenly on that door, looking just at drone height. They're going to be pre-aiming the ground, waiting for those drones to get sent on through. Empire lost a few of those, and that's why we saw only one drone left at the 2-minute mark, and 0 drones left halfway through the round. And that's just insane for Empire. Now, having a look at the drone economy right now, we see all 10 drones still in play at the end of that action, at the end of the prep phase. That is super critical.
Oh, you cursed it.
Did I?
Dan just lost one.
That's a shame. But, you know, it happens. But we're probably going to see a lot of these drones to drone out util on site. That's really what you need them for. It's taking map control. You need to drone out things like Master, Closet, check that there's no one hiding in any corners. And they need to drone out what's on site. See where the Goya shields are. See where the deployable shield is from Smoke. See where the Wubwubs are from Malusi. See where the Maestro Chems are. Because that's the utility that's going to really impact your execute. And that's the majority of the mid-round of Rainbow Six, is basically just removing utility and taking map control. And that's where the drones are so pivotal. Dan's actually lost both of his now. So he's going to be sitting around. When he isn't entering, holding a flank or an angle, or using his utility, his flashbangs or ash charges, he's got nothing to do. And that's really pivotal, and it really changes the impact he can have on the round.
Listen, playing Ash, you don't throw. What's that? You just run and gun, my dude. And it's something that Dan's actually done a decent job of, at least last week. So, you know, it's not all over just yet, so we'll wait and see if that's going to work out for him, while WTG is just waiting to see if these players in Big Tower are going to be ready. There's another drone that gets shot, and he's going to rotate back as the Vulcan shield is taken out. So that utility removal, and not only that, but the opening of the trophy wall, a big move and a big start here from Team Empire.
Good util to burn here, but what is the play from Empire to move up from this point? Still a couple drones left. Scyther still doesn't have full control of Trophy. It's really dangerous to push in there, but he's holding this long aggressive angle into Kids, and that does deny a lot of that rotation. Virtus.Pro have to basically just sit and play passive. 4 players on the bomb site. Not sure where that 5th player is at the moment for VP. All the way over in small tower is Rask, actually. Empire going to have to be careful in the late round that he can't go for a flank, especially as Joystick trade out the Nomad from previous round and picked a Zofia this time. But that does give Empire a bit more util to clear out these shields, Malusi Banshees, and the Maestro Cams, which are going to be super pivotal, especially if they want to force down that plant.
It's actually interesting because Rask now has decided that he's going to be moving out of where he was positioned before. And there's Dan, so he's going to be taken down straight away. He was ready and waiting. Just as I said, he was moving away. He was there, and so are the rest of Virtus.Pro as they start cleaning up these kills with just Joystick standing. He's got about half HP. He's going for what he can, but he can't get much. Virtus.Pro, they proved that they were great at attacking this or defending this site. And now they've proven that they can attack it too. Or defend it too. Oh my goodness. It was going so well, dude.
Well, I mean, I just want to appreciate...
I've written it down wrong. I've written down who was attacking and defending wrong. My notes.
Feels bad. I just want to say thank you, Gio, for carrying me through this cast. Because I am really struggling to see what's going on, and you're doing a fantastic job. And I hope that we're still making this enjoyable and being able to bring you the action, because Virtus.Pro have been playing really well. Empire have had some good moments, but I think them really struggling on that Dorms defense and failing it 3 times is the nail in the coffin for them this game. Even if they really step it up here, they're at a significant deficit. They'd have to win straight attacks now, 4 in a row, to take out the 3 points associated with the win on this game. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think the chances of that are basically 0. As much as I was championing Empire, predicted them, I think the chances are basically 0 of them getting a victory here. Draw 3 out of the next 4 rounds. I think that's pushing it, Gio. I think that's even a bit ambitious for Empire. But look, they can try everything they can. I just really think they've gone into the second half from such a scuffed position, having lost that Dorms defense 3 times.
Such a scuffed position. So eloquent, James. Just the real terminology up in here. But I mean, I have to agree, because it's like, we see players like Cypher, he's been getting some really good kills. But when you see how much someone like Joystick is getting taken advantage of, that's where it really starts to hurt Team Empire, because Virtus.Pro don't seem to be skipping a beat when it comes to taking those late game engagements, taking the fights at the end, and clearing up shop. Obviously, that's the important part. You kill your enemy, you win. And only one side has been doing that so far.
But of course, this is the weakest bomb site that we've seen Virtus.Pro take. So if there's a chance for Empire to get back in the game, it starts here. If they lose this, I think that's nail in the coffin for even their hopes of a draw here against Virtus.Pro. Breach successful, at least partly. But that's not everything. Util flown on through, and that's the first impact grenade sailing off as well. What can Empire do to flush out Shockwave? He takes quite an aggressive angle here.
Second impact grenade was thrown in. Has it been enough to stop the wall from opening? There we go. Pasha's going to be joining in, as obviously he brought some for himself as well, and still the Shower's wall is still yet to be opened up. There we go, that's what finally happens as the drones are sent in by Team Empire. And Pasha taking a relatively aggressive stance as he backs up now. He's got the ADS for cover, and there's a flash, but actually it's been burnt out, it would appear. So he has to seek refuge in the shower. He gets a nice shot there onto Dan, a beautiful headshot. And Team Empire know exactly where he is, and there's only so far he can go as the rest of the attacking team bunch up in the small tower.
Empire onus on them, but they've made good progress. Pasha is still a threat, however, as is Shockwave, who has that shield still intact. Ideally, Empire will clear that. Of course, the longer that this timer runs down, as soon as it's 30 seconds, Milan can basically deny that plant spot with his gas. So even if Empire already had Showers control, this would be looking grim. There's just no way they can force a plant down with Milan still alive and fighting back from a numbers disadvantage. This is going to be such a difficult position for Empire to crawl back from.
Joystick almost looks scared to take that engagement then as he pre-fired the wrong shower and he tries to jump out to get Pasha, but he can't! That's a beautiful 2K there. Rusk and Shockwave following up to make it a flawless round from Virtus.Pro, and you said that that could be the nail in the coffin for Team Empire. They have to move on forward knowing that they couldn't take it, and they still might not be able to.
Well, I think Virtus.Pro have set themselves up very, very nicely here for the remainder of the game. It looks like there's just about no chance Empire can get back into this, and we'll see if Virtus.Pro can lock it out here on the basement. This was their best defense, in particular because they completely obliterated any chance of information gathering from Empire. And as much as I like to credit good players rather than, discredit bad players, I think that that's on Empire. I didn't see how many drones were taken out in the prep phase, but honestly, and I remember a quote from Fabian, this was way back in, shout out to Get Flanked, he's a great YouTube content creator from America. He made a video, Pro and Potato, with Fabian way back in the day. Fabian said, if my team loses one drone during the prep phase, we have lost that prep phase. And that quote has stuck with me for years. And it really just emphasizes the importance of your information economy on the attacking side. If you lose one drone, but maybe it was worth it, maybe it was a bit unlucky, maybe you got timed or something, then maybe that's forgivable. But if you're losing more than one drone, that is honestly shocking. And that really restricts you moving into the action phase. And having a look at this util setup for Virtus.Pro, they've got the bulletproof camera, they've got the 2 shields, one in elbow and one at the blue door to boiler. And that just means there is so much ability for Virtus.Pro to fight Empire for that map control. I really think the best play here for Empire, unless if they're really confident on their blue hold, which admittedly I don't think they are, they need to dedicate elsewhere.
Shockwave hasn't seen the drone that's right in front of him, which means that Team Empire, there we go, he finally gets it, but obviously, as you mentioned, this was the site where Team Empire lost so many of those drones and had to really pre-fire everything. There was one great opening kill from them, but after that, flying blind was just too much for them, so a lot of pressure onto them as they send in yet more drones. WTG waiting there in elbow just for anyone who may be coming in. And actually, with the box wall soft and open like this, it means that Pasha is well prepped and well positioned to take those shots in through and add an extra threat onto the incoming team. They want to push in through the smoke, but Dan's not going to be able to as Ross gets that opening kill. He gets the second as well. A ferocious start here from Virtus.Pro as he pushes up very close to the door, ready for any prey who may still be brave enough to move on through. Shepard tried, but he couldn't make it, as always brings down the Predator. But just 2 players remaining on Team Empire, and they've got a tall task. 4 killers still lie in waiting, but Milon taken down. A good shot there from Joystick, who struggled so much in this game so far. He's lacking HP by quite a bit, but at least he managed to place the air jabs, knowing now that there won't be a flanker. Always getting ready with the Selma. He wants to open up the door as he's being affected by the Malusi Banshee. Actually, it's not the door. He's getting rid of the shield. Okay. No one playing behind it, and he's going to have to move up on his own, with Joystick positioned on the stairs, trying to provide that support.
What is the play here for Empire? Fighting from behind. Joystick's taken so much damage already, and Pasha with such a high rate of fire. He's been on fire tonight himself as a player. Already rocking 11 kills, and Joystick maybe his 12th. Empire have to go now, but they don't know where these players are, and there's no info to be had. Joystick finds one, but is there a possibility for them to get back in this in a 2v2?
Could this be the redemption that he needs? You can see that player over in Laundry. He's crouching, he's ready and waiting. There's the kill onto Always, and now Joystick's all alone, and these 2 remaining players from Virtus.Pro know that they have to push up. There's a kill from Joystick, but he can't get the last one, and the round falls into the hands of Virtus.Pro, who take the victory. So close were Team Empire to keeping themselves in, but alas, it all fell down at the end. A great game from Virtus.Pro.
They are back in form, Gio. All it took was 4 attack rounds and then a flawless round of bomb sites on their defense to put the nail in the coffin for Empire. And it seemed like Empire just fell out of form the longer that match went on. They couldn't lock out Dorms even a single time. And, well, Virtus.Pro never really looked like they broke a sweat in that game.
Pasha, 13 and 6 at the end there. disgusting kind of statistics, and he really did have a great game. Something that sadly can't be said for Team Empire, who looked stronger against Virtus.Pro in the Russian Major League just a couple of days ago, but it seemed that VP was ready to come back with a vengeance. But analysts, what do you think of this game? Is there still hope for Team Empire?
My big question is, Gio, is there still any hope for your predictions